we need the citizens to really get involved more than just standing behind a computer or complaining when you have when it comes time to complain. But we need everybody to get out there and to get involved, to ask the questions to your school board members, to really understand, why did we create these policies that set our students up for failure, and then why do we continue to set our schools up for failure, close them, and then privatize them, and then wonder why a school didn't do so well. And I always want to counter that with, a school never does the way that the district wants it to because of its leadership. It trickles down. And when we look at statistics, 18 out of 22 instructional superintendents have turned over in DPS's tenure in almost about 3 years. We have principals who have to lead and charge their schools to make change. But if the principal sucks, the school's going to suck, because it's your leadership. It's what trickles down. And I've looked at it from Manual's history. They closed Manual and reopened it, thinking Manual was going to be just a great school if we closed it for a year and reopened it. But all that did to Manual was, you put 5 different principals in place and said, hey, we're giving you an opportunity, and we failed each principal. But it took the leadership to change it. It took one Principal Nick Dawkins, to really come into the building and really change the culture and the landscape of what it is to be a Manual Thunderbolt, and to really what it means to be a school that has this negative reputation on the east side of Denver. So it starts with your leadership, down from your school board to your superintendent to your IS to your principals, then to your teachers and your students. It's accountability all across the board. So, and at the end of the day, we have to always get involved. We have to follow people and really understand where this candidate or where this school board member is coming from, because when it comes time for next year to make changes within the DPS school board, where there's 4 seats up for grabs, do we really want to continue the way that we've continued for the last 10 years, that have failed our students for 10 consecutive years? Or do we want to make sure as citizens we get out there and we want to change the narrative of Denver Public Schools and make sure that we get the school board members that represent each and every one of us as citizens of Denver and the state of Colorado?
And Tay, we definitely want change. We definitely want change. And while Uniting4Kids can't endorse any candidates because we're a nonprofit, I'll just add that our members can certainly support your campaign. They can write checks. They can knock doors for you. I know that you've got a campaign kickoff event coming up. Would you just share that? May 26th, 6 p.m., Manual High School. Can you just share that a little bit?
So on May 26th at 6 p.m. at Manual High School, we are having our TAY for DPS kickoff. We're inviting everyone across the city and the state to come. Our campaign has made national news because they noticed that it's a young people's movement now, and who best knows the district and knows the students and then somebody that's fresh out of the public schooling system. And so we really invite the community to come out and to get involved, to listen to the messages that are going to be heard. We have choirs from different high schools coming out to sing and enjoy this time with us, because this is not a celebration of myself or our campaign. This is a celebration for the change that we're about to elect in November. And so we want you all to be on this ride and this journey with us up until November.
Thank you, Tay. Thank you for running. We really appreciate your leadership. Final thoughts from Rosemary and James?
I just want to say that while we have to look at the structural and institutional racism, there's a lot we can do at our personal level. And that is really being aware of the biases that we bring into any situation. We have to bring back humanity. We have to see our children as humans. We have to up the ante in terms of our investment and making sure that we are personally invested in the success of each and every child that we come in touch with. And we also have to make sure that teachers have the supports that they need. I don't think there's a single teacher that ever went through 4 years of college and getting a teaching license and a master's degree to fail students. I believe they're doing the best they can with what they have, and that they need the supports, and they need to work with the families, they need to work with the communities. And if it were up to me, I would go back to community-based teaching and learning, where the school was the hub of the community. And the teachers and the students were reflected in terms of how the community looks and what the community values. And when we can get back to that, where that spirit of Ubuntu, where I am because we are, and every child belongs to me and I want them to succeed, is when we will see a change.
That's right.
Thank you.
Well, if I could quickly add to that, Rosemary, you're absolutely correct. And Tay, what you shared on the political side of it is taking the personal and making it, or taking, the personal and making it political. All those are all part of the solutions. I too would suggest that we simply develop a critical consciousness, a critical thinking. And that is that different than just a, deeper thinking or moving beyond the surface, but we actually examine things in regards to power, positionality, privilege, and access. Because when we do that, we can then counter these false narratives in regards to learning and blaming the student, blaming the person. And so this critical thinking, unlike what traditionalists would say, it's not a critical heart. You can tell when someone is being critical because it's condescending. No, critical thinking is actually, the dictum that we actually work from, you're not to be idolized, you're to be criticized. And so that's how we change systemic. That's how we can change policy and legislation, is through this critical thinking. And through that, again, we don't blame the victims. We don't blame the people. What we do is we change it structurally. And part of that solution is Angela's work, is Rosemary's work, is Tay's activism and advocacy. And that is acknowledging corporate education for what it is. And when we do that, we can counter individuals who simply believe in the bootstrap mentality. If you work hard, you get what you deserve, and so forth. When we counter that empirically, we then know is that, we're moving from opinion to an informed position. An informed position is far different than opinion because it's empirically based. Now, again, it doesn't mean right or wrong, but what it will do is it will change what works. Because that's what we know, again, about the zero tolerance. And we know that we can stop the school to prison pipeline. It doesn't have to be. It is complex. But the solutions can be rather simple to start being part of that solution. And again, something as simple as removing police presence in schools will do that. And same thing again, and being anti-high stakes, but protesting, what would that mean then is being a learning-centered classroom. Going back to, again, outside of the false narrative of you get what you deserve.
I want to thank you. I appreciate that all of your solutions, both from Rosemary and James and Tay. Tay's talking about what we can do with our actions and our civic leadership. And James, you're talking about just from a research and empirical standpoint. And Rosemary, you're talking about how we can act from the heart. And I think it really does take all of those. It takes behavioral shifts. It takes really touching into our own compassion. And I think it's, an aspect of how can we think about this in a logical, rational fashion and make sure that that becomes part of the argument. So it isn't hard. It's, we care about kids, we're involved in our communities, and we pay attention to what the research and the data is telling us, which is not what the dominant narrative is around, equity and opportunity. So this was a really wonderful conversation. I want to thank all of those who joined us tonight. And I especially want to thank our guests. We have included those bios. Tay is, I know, on Facebook. So if you'd like to get involved with his campaign, you can find him on Facebook. Rosemary Allen, she's got a website with IRE. She speaks nationally. She's a very powerful public speaker on the issue of education and providing opportunities for children of color. And again, Uniting4Kids, we are winding down. We take the summer off so that we can recharge our batteries. So our last webinar is going to be May 23rd. If you could please mark your calendars. It'll be May 23rd. And we're really excited that we're going to be transitioning in some new leadership for next year. And so we're working to develop a strategic plan. And if you would like to get involved with Uniting4Kids, we would love to have your involvement. So May 23rd is our last webinar. I'm titling it Lessons Learned from a Bus Bench Activist. My education leadership started out when I found myself as a bus bench activist. So it's been a long journey, and have learned a lot along the way. And I invite you to join us for that, and also to become an education leader in the community, whether it's Uniting for Kids or one of these other organizations. So thank you again. I am going to turn off the recording, and if you are part of Uniting for Kids or loosely affiliated with Uniting for Kids, if you'll stay on the call, I would appreciate it.